Black Moon, Smith & Wesson, Afro Raw, Black Star, De La Soul, Eminem, Flip Mode Squad, M.O.P., O.C., Royce the 5'9", Razkaz, Diamond D, Pete Rock, Talib Kweli, Freddie Fox, Jean Grey, and Naughty by Nature. Just some of the artists my next guest has worked with. He's Evil Dee from the legendary producing team, the Beatminez, and I want to welcome him to Library with Tim EInenkel. Thanks for joining me, man.
Hey, thanks for having me here. You know what I'm saying?
That's awesome. This is truly an honor. So, one of the first things I read about you is that, you and your brother, Mr. Walt, grew up in a very musical family. I think the quote your brother says in an interview is, the first record in his collection was Diana Ross Presents the Jackson 5. When thinking back to kind of the creating the Beatminez and all that you guys have done, what's the importance of having this broad range of musicality for what you have to do in terms of, creating albums or creating tracks or creating instruments?
Well, it definitely helps you think outside the box. Like, with me, I like to, my stuff that I create is more musical. And that's because I don't just listen to one thing. Like, I have different references. Like, when you're a hip-hop producer, you're supposed to think outside the box.
Right.
Because you listen to funk, jazz, rock, soul, just to find that particular sample. You know what I'm saying? And being that, like, the music that I grew up with was so diverse, so crazy, it helped me a lot. Like, that's why, like, my vast knowledge of records is the way it is, Thinking
of that, I mean, this is a question kind of to skip ahead, but you obviously grew up at a time, and Black Moon grew up at a time, Smith & Wesson grew up at a time where rap wasn't the genre, I mean, even me, I remember Z100 in New York being happy or excited to say, absolutely no rap music here, that type of big, deep voiceover. Today you have a generation, and even a little generation before us, hip hop artists growing up on hip hop, growing up on rap. How do you think the music has changed, musically, but also lyrically, if you can, about how has it changed when you have a bunch of artists growing up on rap music versus like Stevie Wonder or Marvin Gaye or Diana Ross?
Well, what has happened now is hip hop has become more. It's like, what it is. You lose the experimental phase. Back when I produced my first album, which was the Black Moon album. Like I said, my musical influences is crazy, and as you listen to that album, it reflects that. A lot of the cats that grew up in hip hop, all they heard was beats and rhymes. So it's like they grew up in that, and everybody thinks it's just beats and rhymes. Actually, it's actually more than that. You know what I'm saying? Like, this isn't just something that, like I always tell people like this, when it comes to hip hop, this is just something that, I'm gonna make a record today.
Right.
No, this is something that you like. This is like a lifestyle to me. You know what I'm saying? I wake up in the morning, I don't put on this gear because, it's my hip hop gear.
Right.
This is what I wear, And it's like a lot of the artists nowadays, it's like, I don't know, like they think hip hop is something else. Right. Now, here's one thing I will say is I'm not mad at anybody. Like, you create how you create. You're going to create your way, I'm going to create my way. But I think that one of the problems I have with music today is a lot of the cats also don't like old records, don't like older music.
Right.
And I feel that that's wrong. You have to know your history to know, you got to know your past and know your future. You know what I'm saying? So that's that.
Speaking of, and obviously the Beatminez is just, and you look at your just instrumentals. It's like an array of like sampling, sound effects. You guys do incredible things, and then you see the Beatminez as it's a group. It's like it's not as growing up as a kid. 11 in 1988 probably. Hip hop groups, rap groups. You don't know much about DJ groups, so to say, producing groups. So why were the Beatminez started, and why did you guys need to kind of have the feel to be a DJ / producing collective?
Well, first of all, it's two different things. You have the Beatminez DJs, and you have Beatminez.
Right.
The Beatminez consists of myself and my brother, Mr. Walt. And, we had past members, which is Baby Paul, Chocolate Tie, and Rich Black. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to them. That's my peoples. That's my peoples for life.
Right.
And it's like me and Walt, well, we're brothers. We're 3 years apart. Right. So when we was born, the Beatminez was born. Like, we played instruments back in the days. Like, I know how to play the drums. I learned how to play the drums. My brother learned how to play the drums also. Then we learned the piano. And like me, one of my talents is if I sit down with 10 minutes with any instrument, I could play it.
Oh, I hate you.
And it's like, that's that's the advantage we grew up with. At the same time, we grew up hearing every Jamaican record ever at that time and James Brown.
Wow. Nice.
You know
Nice.
what
Wow.
I'm saying? And then, the thing with West Indian parents is they'll like the duttiest Jamaican records, the craziest Jamaican records, and listen to like something crazy. Like my mom's listen to all the ill Jamaican records and then listen to Kenny Rogers. Like, I don't know what it is with West Indian cast, but that's how it is.
Right.
They'll listen to the illest records and then listen to like Britney Spears. And Britney Spears will tear the party up. So I grew up with that. Like, I grew up listening to that and like country music and I don't even like country music like that.
Right.
But it is what it is.
Right.
Listening to pop stuff and but back then the pop stuff back then ain't like the pop stuff now. So
Right.
the pop stuff back then was more soulful. But it's just me and Walt as growing up. That's how our musical taste formed,
Right.
And when we started making records, because we was of course living in Brooklyn, we experienced hip hop early. When we started making records, it was a whole different ball game. Like my whole thing was everybody was on the drum. It was just a drum break and like a loop, like a James Brown loop, whatever. I was like, no, I'm gonna bring vibes out, and that's like Who Got the Props.
Right.
When it came out, it was different. And that's another thing I will say, going back to that question you asked me before, older artists are not afraid to be different.
Push down. Yeah.
The records of today, I don't know if it's my older age or whatever, but it's now all sounding the same to me.
No, it's not your older age, because I feel the same way. Because I've been to a, I think we're probably around the same age, but I've been to a show, and obviously probably the oldest person, one of the oldest people in the crowd, and the DJ's going and she's playing different tracks, and she switches to a different song, same beat, but everyone in the audience goes nuts, as if like, I don't know, she split the atom and DJ, and it was one of those moments where I was like, my ears going? Like, what's going on? Well, she didn't do anything different. It's the same track over and over again, and it's just
crazy.
interesting. You talk about your gift of being able to play an instrument. You play. I read you piano, violin, guitar, bass, organ, drums, and then at the age of 7, you learned turntables.
Yeah.
You're now obviously a legendary DJ. What was it? What was it about the turntable that spoke to a 7-year-old Evil Dee, not these other instruments? And also, just to be further with it, why not for you graph or b-boying or even emceeing?
I did all that.
Oh,
But as an MC, number one, I never liked my voice. Number two, I knew there was MCs way better than me, so I knew not to go there. Graph, I used to write. My mother ended my career. She seen me write. Somebody had parked a truck outside my house, and me and my neighbor down the block, who's my writing partner, we seen that white truck. Later on that night, we came out and we did. We rode on the truck. We do a big piece on the truck, and the next day, my mom's looked at the truck and seen Evil Dee. Oh, I know who that is.
oh no!
And that was the end of my career.
Quick. But you were obviously nice at this.
Yeah, I was.
Yeah.
B-boying, breakdancing, B-boying. I tried it. wasn't nice. But here's the funny thing: I am a member of Rocksteady,
Nice.
but I'm a member of the Rocksteady DJs.
Ah, nice.
Which I was all right with it. Like all the elements I've tried, and DJing is where my heart is at. Now with DJing, what made me DJ was jealousy. My brother, Mr. Walt, was DJing at a block party, and I seen him DJing, and everybody, oh my God, yo, he's so dope. I was like, no, I'm better than him. And what I started doing was I would go downstairs, like he would leave with his friends. I would run downstairs and start DJing and put everything back. And then when he comes back, just be like, hey, how you doing? So, that's how I learned. By listening to what he was doing with his friends and copying that. And then when he would leave, I would learn that and then put my own spin on it. Then also listening to Red Alert, Chuck Chill Out, and Mr. Magic, R.I.P., and Marley. Like those cats right there influenced me. Like Marley was more, like Marley was like he was a DJ that he rocked with technology. Red Alert, Chuck Chill Out was more of the, yo, we're going to throw the record on. Like, they have perfect timing. And I learned that by listening to them. And also listening to Chef Pettibone. Chef Pettibone, he was on Kiss FM. Like, this dude would do blends. And Tony Humphries. Tony Humphries' blends was incredible. Incredible. And, listening to all these dudes is how I got my style. And also, for my brother,
right?
Of course.
It's you talk and you said listening versus watching, right? And that just goes kind of for me into this how, you as an artist, your mind works in obviously ways that people probably can't fathom.
Yeah.
Like you're listening to someone, Red Alert do something, but even though you're hearing them on the radio, you could see them visually in your mind. And then I read more about you and about this amazing creative mind, and I'm like, so how did he know to pour water to create on the sound for the remix of the Roots Silent Treatment?
Oh,
how do you even think of that?
You know what's funny? The way we are as humans, we react like there's certain sounds that are soothing to us. The sound of pouring water is soothing.
Right.
And believe it or not, when I made the mix, I was like, yo, this is dope. But it has to be something in there that people can relate to. Like in most of my records, there's something you can relate to. And yo, I actually was sitting in D&D studios and we was drinking water. And it's clicked in my head, yo, try pouring water. And I mic'd up I set up the mic, I poured water into another pitcher, poured it back a couple of times, listened to it, and sampled it. And, like little subtle things like that works. Like I said, it soothes your mind. Like your mind will be like, yo, I heard this before.
Right.
It sounds familiar. It's like rain. If you just play rain, people know the sound of rain. It'll calm them down.
Right. Nice.
So that's the whole thing with that. Like I've done crazy stuff. Like I've made rice. I put rice in oatmeal cans and shook them on records, and it works. I did a House of Pain remix called Over There-ish. And I mic'd up my doorbell in my house.
Nice.
Stuff like that.
Is this stuff that's for you? Is it kind of planned? Are these stuff planned out, or is it like one of those? I remember I interviewed DJ Newmark.
He's one of my favorites, by the way.
And he talks about this like he was doing it's when he did one of the first albums with Slim Kid Trey. Yeah. And we were just kind of talking, and I was like, well, how do you know that? Like, how do you know to put the doorbell there? And he talks about a sixth sense type thing.
Yeah, you just feel it. It's like when I'm working on a beat, I'll make the foundation. And once I make the foundation, I'll go, okay, you know what? Let me see what blah, blah, blah adds to it. Like if it's Black Moon, let me see what Buckshot and 550 adds to this. And once they add something, that'll make me go back to the lab and go, all right, let me add this, let me add that. Like, one thing with myself now, I play more on the records. Like before I used to sample a whole lot. I still sample, let's not get it twisted, but right. I play more and I chop a lot. I chop a lot of samples. And on like even with the new Black Moon album that's coming out now, there's samples on there, of course, but I'm playing also. So that's why it has the sound it has. It's back to the drums, the hard drums, the heavy bass lines, and the ill samples, you know. And the reason I did it like that was because that's what's missing.
Right.
That's what I'm looking for in my music.
Oh, nice.
Like I'm looking for in my hip hop, like hip hop in general. You know, I could tell people, yo, you need to do this, you need to do that. Let me do it. And then I go, no, make it like this, you know.
Right.
And hopefully it'll start people doing that back again.
Why do you think, you talk about sampling, but why do you think less people sample today? I mean, is it something that was taught? Is it something that they were just not taught not to sample? Is it more of kind of maybe being scared of a lawsuit? You know, a little bit of both?
What it is, yeah, it's a little bit of both. The original artists, they look at that and they go, oh, $1 million.
Right.
So they think that they're going to make $1 million off of you sampling them, which is wrong, because music doesn't make, like selling music isn't making money like it used to.
Right.
The whole thing is, number one, a lot of record companies don't want you to sample because they don't want to go through clearing it. Number two, a lot of artists was like, look, I want my publishing for myself. Me, I feel like, yo, I'm going to pay for what I use, you know, so I might as well go all out. If you're giving me this platform to do what I got to do, I don't mind spending the money.
Right.
As long as I get good quality music from it. You know, but a lot of cats are scared to sample because they don't want to pay the price. A lot of, you know, like it's a lot of things. There's no such thing as a sample law because everybody, oh, it's a sample law.
Right.
No.
Yeah.
There's no such thing as a sample law. What it is you sample something, you pay for it. And rec companies don't want you to sample. Like if they looked at the new Black Moon album right now, they'll be like, yo, this guy's crazy. This guy's really crazy over here. But, you know, you have things like now, like for artists, for producers, you have things like TrackLib that help you clear samples easier. And some artists get it. Like George Clinton gets it.
Right.
George Clinton, like he clears samples, so it's so easy to clear a George Clinton sample, it's not even funny. You know what I'm saying?
Because, I mean, when you say get it, they get it because they understand that ideally people will start listening back to the original piece or kind of, or helps, or also helps his legacy.
Like George Clinton gets it because hip hop saved him. Just like hip hop saved James Brown, God rest the dead.
Right.
Like, yo, no one was thinking about James Brown like that until sampling really started blowing up. And that's the truth.
Right.
Sampling has brought a lot of cats back from the dead. And, you know, a lot of people appreciate it. Then you have some people who, they don't get it, you know? Like, most of the time, a lot of people appreciate it, though. But, you know, you got a lot of people out there that are greedy and just waiting, you know?
You know, I think prior to you getting here, I asked you, how'd you get here? You said, I took a train from Bushwick. You've been there, obviously, for a long time.
All my life.
All your life. I mean, I grew up in Washington Heights, and I know that neighborhood. I have not been there. It's too expensive to live there anymore.
Yeah.
So I know that has changed a boatload. For you, how has Bushwick changed?
Oh.
And also, from an art point of view and influence, how do you think your music is having the same family dynamic that you grew up listening to all this music and having your musicality? But from the neighborhood point of view, if you grew up now, how do you think, or do you think your music would be different than from, and I know that's a loaded question, I guess, but I mean, have you ever thought how it would be different at that time?
My music would be different now because it would be easy listening hip hop. Because when I walk out my house right now, everybody's like, hi, neighbor, hello, hi. And like, you know, I'm a property owner, so I ain't going nowhere.
Right.
And I won't sell. So they hate me.
Oh, yeah, must say, yeah.
Yeah, but, you know, back in the days, you know, the neighborhood was the neighborhood. Bushwick was the hood. Nobody wanted to come to Bushwick. Why? For what? To buy some drugs? You know what I'm saying? Because that's what we had out there.
Right.
You know, we had the best, well, I'm not going to say it on the podcast, but there was some big things going on in Bushwick drug-wise. And a lot of people would come out there to get their drugs. And, you know, it was a lot of killings, and, you know, Bushwick was crazy. All of a sudden, like at the end of like the early 2000s, it's like Bushwick started cleaning up.
Right.
And I'm like, whoa, something's going on. Like, I'm gonna tell you right now, if you live near a train station, like a junction or whatever, and they start fixing up that junction, like to us, Knickerbocker Avenue, no, Myrtle Ave and Wyckoff, that's a junction.
Right.
When they start fixing that up, when I seen Starbucks putting a store right there,
Yeah, it's over.
I knew what time it was.
Yeah.
When I went up on Wyckoff to Halsey Street train station, where I'm from, where I take the train, and I seen they was fixing that little area up. All right, there's something going on here. There's a hotel here now.
Oh, God, yeah.
You know what time it is.
Right.
So, like, my neighborhood went from being, like, the houses was not expensive and the rent was good, to now they're like $3,000 for an apartment.
Crazy. Yeah, it's amazing.
Like, really? Like, the people who used to live there can't even live there no more, you know? And I feel bad for the people coming out of jail. And they're coming home and they're like, where's my home?
Right.
You know?
Yeah, no, it's real.
So it's crazy.
I want to take you back to 1997.
Okay.
So I grew up, so just the background is I grew up in Washington Heights. I went to school in East Harlem. Loved, anywhere from Guns N' Roses to Public Enemy to, I'll Tell You Later, Self-Destruction song I know entirely by heart. And I presented it in 6th grade, which I don't know what I presented, but I presented in 6th grade. But then there was a moment where I kind of fell out of love with hip hop for a little bit. Like, I thought it was for me, I think there's a political part of it. It was too bling-blingy, so to say. But then Black Star came out with an album, Soundbombing began, Rawkus Records. Then I started to love hip hop again.
Yeah.
And I did a radio show in college based on kind of that. You are obviously the intro track and the mix of Soundbombing.
Thank you.
And to this day, Evil Dee is on the mix. Just Kick It.
Kick It, yeah.
Is in my head all the time. Looking back, what do you think the significance of the Soundbombing era was, or the tapes or the records, and Rawkus Records at the same time, but also what were their influence to hip hop and hip hop culture, but also to the artists that were on those albums?
One thing I'll say is this. First of all, let's start off like this. I'm gonna tell you the beginning of Soundbombing. Soundbombing began as me being a fan of Rawkus Records, and Brian and Jarrett, who was the owners of Rawkus Records, trying to pick my brain. Because Rawkus Records was formed because of Nervous Records. They seen how Nervous and Black Moon operated. And they was like, yo, we need to make a label like that. Like, because when Rawkus first came out, they did rock. They did rock and they did, like, techno records. Like, they was bugging. And all of a sudden, like, they just started doing hip-hop. Like, they seen how Nervous Records was rolling, and they started doing hip-hop records. And when they looked at Nervous, they seen how Black Moon and Michael Weiss was operating. Little did they know with Nervous, Michael Weiss comes from the Weiss family, which is a family that's very deep in the industry. There's he got different uncles and cousins and people that are in the industry that, like, they're legendary. Even his father, God rest his dead, Sam Weiss, had the biggest independent distribution company. Sam Distribution, I think? No, Wind Distribution. Wind Distribution. He had a label called Sam Records, but it was Wind Distribution. And, when I did retail, this was one of the companies I used to order from all the time. Now, Rawkus, when they seen, it's Evil Dee, they hired a lot of ex-Nervous employees. And I put out a independent record for my house, Shades of Brooklyn, When It Rains, It Pours, and Change, and that record was blowing up. So when they seen how I was selling that record straight from my house, and I sold like 100,000 records.
It's incredible, wow. Yeah.
They was like, whoa, well, wait a minute. How's he doing this? So I had a meeting with Rawkus. And then now here's the funny thing. My brother sees Brian and Jarrett somewhere, and he's like, yo, I would love to do a record on Rawkus. Yo, because you guys are incredible. And they're like, yo, no problem. Yo, Beatminez word, dope. So I'm having this meeting with them, and I was like, and I told them, I said, look, I love what y'all are doing over here. I want to make a mixtape. of Rawkus Records, just Rawkus Records. Give me a bunch of records. Give me access to your artists. I want to make this tape, and it's going to be dope. Because there was a convention coming up. I forgot which convention it was. And I said, yo, I got mad time at D&D. Just come to D&D. As a matter of fact, come by tonight. Invite a couple cats through, and we just going to make this tape. And that's what happened. It was one night. Everybody came through, and I recorded freestyles. R.A. the Rugged Man. I recorded Black Star. Did I record a Black Star freestyle? Yeah. Black Star. Like, I recorded a bunch of stuff. And then I sat down and started putting this tape together. I went and got acetates cut so I could blend everything. And I put this tape together. And Brian and Jared was like, how much do you want for this tape? I was like, yo, it's a free giveaway. Just give me I said, yo, you know what? I'll charge you $500. Boom, boom, boom. Did the exchange. A week later, Brian and Jared calls me and goes, yo, we was listening to the tape. And in my mind, I'm like, oh, here we go. They don't like it. Oh, he's listening to the tape and we love it so much we want to put it out. I'm like, nah, don't put that out. You crazy? Nah, Evil, yo. It sounds just like one of your street tapes that you got out there. Yo, and it sounds like you on Hot 96, because I was on Hot 97 at the time. Yo, this is incredible. We want to put it out. And I was like, nah. Don't do that. And they was like, no, for real. Yo, come by the office. Let's talk about it. I go to the office. We sit down and we talk. We negotiate terms. They give me an advance. And it was a cheap advance. I think it was like $10,000 advance. And it was like, yo, we're going to give you points. We're going to give you royalties and blah, 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 blah.
Right.
All right. They put Soundbombing out, right? And it explodes.
Right.
And I'm like, people like that? I said, yo, my mixtapes. And then I said, my mixtapes do sell like crazy. Wait a minute. And what ended up happening was, yo, it blew up. This was the only album that Rawkus ever did where they collected royalties. On their other albums, they overspent. This was the first album they made money back. So they was bugging like, yo, we need you to do part 2. And I was like, no. I said, what you should do, just get some other DJs to do the other parts. Right. I said, yo, I did part 1, I'm done. It's like, no, well, I'm like, no, that's it. I said, I'm not gonna kill myself, be like doing part 97 where people don't wanna hear me no more.
Right. And
so that's what happened with what's called. And here's the funny thing, to this day, I have not received no royalties from it.
From them.
Yeah.
Wow.
To this day. But it's cool. The album is a historic album and people love it. And I'm glad. It wasn't intended to come out. And it's funny because I told this story on OK Player. I was like, it wasn't intended to come out, but it came out and people loved it.
And imagine, you feel like you were, with that album alone, responsible for, launching a lot of people's...
Yeah, and that's the crazy part. Like, I was just making a tape.
Right.
But that's the power of mixtapes, Like, and it's funny because that tape was like one of the first official mixtapes made the way it was made. Mm-hmm. And from there, everybody just started making mixtapes and bugging out and, But it was cool. Like, it sold a lot and... It didn't cost Rawkus anything because most of it was records they had.
Right.
They didn't have to pay for the studio time because it was on my dime. And that was it. Like, and Brian and Jared still owe me money to this day.
Is there a kind of looking back of recording all RA and Black Star, and is there one artist that you were kind of pleasantly surprised by in terms of like his or her lyricism?
Yeah, but no, I wasn't surprised at anybody because I already knew RA was dope because I've been a fan of RA's before that. Talib and Mos, I've been heard them. Right. Like, I knew they was crazy. Like everybody who I worked with was dope, so I wasn't surprised. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And like I said, at the time, Rawkus was about the music. Then when they started. Like the whole trying to be Def Jam. That's what killed them.
Right. Yeah. No.
Like, and Rawkus, like one thing, I remember going to Japan, and Rawkus was the first label that I seen. I went to the store, and they had their own bin. And it was like, everybody had like the group bin. You had the Black Moons, you had the Buster, you had the Tribe Called Quest, and you had Rawkus. And I remember hitting them up and going, yo, guys, whatever y'all doing right now, keep doing it, because this is what's making y'all legendary.
Right.
And what happened was they got blinded by the money coming in. Like all the big dudes had houses in the Hamptons, so Rawkus went and got a house in the Hamptons. And then I remember when I got my deal with them, they wanted to give me a Rawkus chain, a platinum chain with diamonds on it. And I told them, I said, look, if you give me that chain, I'm gonna take pictures with y'all up here, and we're gonna ha 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 and he. As soon as I walk out of here, I'm gonna pawn it and go buy records. So I don't think you should do this. I said, if you want to give me something, give me money to go buy studio equipment.
Right.
I said, don't give me a chain, because I'm not a chain. I don't rock chains like that. And at the time, I had a bunch of gold chains, but I was rocking that for the 2 turntables and a mic video shoot we was doing. So, but the Rawkus dudes, like, they started it derailed them. If they would have stayed with what they did, they would still be here. It would be a Rawkus. It would be like Duck Down is still here.
Would they still? I'm sorry. Do you think they would if they stayed the course? Do you think they could have also? I mean, like Duck Down. I mean, I guess as I say this question, I think I know the answer. But could they have kept the same lyrical content that they were doing until now? But
you know what you do? do like a Duck Down did. Duck Down, they have their legacy artists, the art like the Black Moons and Helter Skelter, Gareth Adair, Sean Price, Buckshot. They have all the legacy artists. At the same time, they have DDD. Mm-hmm. Which is their marketing and distribution company. And that's where they have Young M.A. and other people like Talib Kweli. You know what I'm saying? Like, what they do is DDD is where they make their money. Right. So they could put money into the other stuff that they're doing. Like a Black Moon album, let's be realistic. You know what I'm saying? We may sell maybe 100,000, maybe 150,000. You never know. But we have the money to do what we got to do because of artists like Young M.A. doing what she did. She sold 3 million.
I mean, yeah.
So her money goes into doing the new Smith & Wesson album, doing the new Black Moon album. You know what I'm saying? As a rec company, you have to sell records to create, create money to fund your other projects. It's like how when Eazy-E did Ruthless. Before he put out NWA, he put out JJ Fad.
Right.
And JJ Fad was not street hip hop. But he used that money to do the NWA stuff.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's all a business, and I get it. But if you come in, like, your first impression means a lot. Like, everybody, when Black Moon, all the older people think, as soon as they hear Black Moon, they think, who got the props? How many MCs? I Got You Open remix. Now, just imagine if we decided, we're not performing those records. We get no shows.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And that's our legacy. So you can't front on your legacy.
I wasn't meaning to ask this question, but when you're talking about the business side of things, especially with Duck Down, one thing that, and I've told a lot of people this, I mean, I've interviewed Smith & Wesson, I've interviewed Dan the Pro. I mean, I've interviewed Duck Down artists and Buckshot, and one thing that always gets me is the savviness of the business side of things. And like I think Buckshot years ago once said to me, he's like, and he knew, like, he was recognizing record sales or not. That's not why you make your money. So you have to think outside the box. So if a Black Moon fork is going to sell you, you got to think like sell the fork on. What is it about Duck Down Records that I guess educates its artists about like, I mean, just so open and transparent about the business side of things. Like, is that, I mean, what is it about them that they do that?
Here's the thing. I didn't learn from Duck Down Records. I learned with.
Duck Down. Okay.
What happened is, remember, me, Buck, and Five came in the business together. Then we grabbed Drew and Nervous. And when Duck Down was being built, I was standing right there handing them the bricks. In other words.
Right.
And that's how you look at it. Like, I learned by asking questions. Like, I spoke, I used to talk to Q-Tip. I used to talk to Latifah. Got arrested. I used to talk to Chris Lighty a lot. I asked 8 million questions. Like, I knew Q-Tip. I knew Tribe Called Quest before I was on. I used to always see Latifah and speak with her before she was on. Kid and Play and Wiz, DJ Wiz, who's down with them. I knew them before I was on. And I always asked a million questions. One thing about me is if I'm going to get into something, I have to know what I'm getting into. And I was always how does this work? Like, da-da-da-da. Like, the illest thing I heard was, and I'm not going to say the artist's name because I don't want to put her out there like that. It's a girl artist that I knew. She was in a girl group. And she, her record was popping. But she was working at a job. And I asked her, I said, why are you working a job right now? Your record's all over the radio.
Right.
You made it. She's like, you don't see no money right then and there. It's going to take time. And I'm like, but you're here.
Right.
Why? She was like, there's no money in music until you start touring. And when she said that to me, I'm looking and I'm like, I walked out of there and was listening to her record on the radio. So I was confused. Then when I asked, maybe it was Tip who I asked that. It was Tip or Jerobi or one of them. I said, like, what's up with that? And they was like, trust me, E. It's like, everyone thinks we're just millionaires. We're not millionaires yet. And when I got into the game, when we got to deal with Nervous, we didn't get no $1 million in cash. You know what I'm saying? If I remember, I think we got like 20 grand. And we had to split that with us 3. So, it was crazy.
Yeah. Well.
You know what I'm saying? It was crazy. Like, the whole thing was crazy. And artists do not make money selling records. But putting out a record opens up the gates for everything else. Unless you're selling millions of records, you're not making money selling records.
Right.
And then you got to also think this, too. How much money was spent to sell that million records?
Hard copies of records, not streams.
Well, back then it was hard copies.
Yeah, right. So
now with streaming's not even that much money. You know what I'm saying? You're not like Happy by Pharrell. That record was the biggest record when it was out. He got his streaming check. It was $4,000.
Amazing. Yeah.
And this is Pharrell we're talking about. We're not talking about underground artists. We're talking about Pharrell. $4,000? Like, the streaming, the only thing that, and I don't know if I should say this, but I'm going to say it. The only thing that Trump ever said right was that has to be fixed. That's the only thing he ever said that I agree with him with. Everything else,
no.
I don't know that guy. But, streaming is like the worst. You know what I'm saying? If I had it my way, I wouldn't stream nothing. It would just be hard copies. But then I would lose people because there's a lot of people who don't buy hard copies. So it's like the gift and the sword.
Right. Was that the thing with streaming? Is that it's either the people that, so you either stream the record and, I streamed the new Black Moon album. Mm-hmm. You get something, not much, obviously,
you get nickels.
Versus like, I'm not saying me, but like, the same person that's going to stream, if streaming's not available, they're just going to illegally download your album anyway, type thing. Is that kind of the struggle that artists today have to go through? Is either play the game and get the nickels, or don't play the game and get no money anyway. So
see, but here's another thing that a lot of people don't understand. Before we had the legal downloads, we had the legal recordings.
Right. Yeah.
And people would, I'm gonna go to my friend's house. Smitty got the Da-Da-Da album. We're going to copy that cassette. We're going to be good. Mm-hmm. And there was always illegal ways to get music. But then what people also got to understand is this: how did hip hop spread from New York to wherever? Someone copied the tape.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Hip hop was spread by bootlegs. And it's like with me, I have a love-hate relationship with bootlegs. Me, I want you to get the music. So you're going to get it however you're going to get it. But at the same time, I'm not, the music, it cost me money to do this music.
Right.
And I got to make my money back at least. Like one of the ideas I came up with is, and you know, I think I'm gonna, you know, I'm not even gonna say it here because I don't want nobody to take my idea. But I got an idea, and it'll work out for everybody. You know what I'm saying? It'll definitely work out for everybody. I'll probably tell you off the air,
Okay,
but
cool.
you know,
I got you. I want to. I mean, speaking of ideas, you do. You know, you're not just creating albums or tracks or music. You're not just performing. You do Beatminez Internet Radio.
Yeah.
Why was that started, and can you kind of talk about what genres of music you guys play on that?
Okay. Well, Beatminez Radio, I can say the
of
okay.
course.
www.beatminezradio.com started in you ready for this? 1996.
Wow.
The first online radio station is pseudo.com. Pseudo.com had a company, pseudo.com was the station. Then they had different channels. One of the channels they had was 88hiphop.com. 88 Hip Hop did the first hip hop radio. There was the first hip hop radio station. I was a producer for 88hiphop.com. And Randy, I'm trying to think of it. Randy told me, yo, you know, you need to do Beatminez. And I was like, nah, that'll be corny. But then I thought about it, and I created Beatminez Radio at that time. And of course, when I created Beatminez Radio, I brought the family in. I was like, okay, you know, of course, Mr. Walt, I went to talk to Mr. Walt. Walt was like, that'll be perfect. And we put together our radio station people. You know what I'm saying? And we started doing radio back then. We did that until 2000. Now, at 2000, that's when the .com company started failing. Pseudo was one of those companies that crashed and burned. Because it was at one time Pseudo was making crazy dough. Then it just stopped. Around that time, we did Beatminez Radio offline, which was at WNWK, which at the time was 105.9. And we did it there. Then they sold their station. And when they sold their station, we stopped doing the radio for a minute. Then 2007, I was just fed up with the way that I was listening to radio and everything, how everything sounded.
Right.
And I was like, you know what? We need to put this back together again. And at that time, Maceo from De La Soul was on Ustream DJing. And he called me up. He said, yo, E, I want you to, you got to check this out. Yo, this is dope. We could do this. We could make money off of this. And he was like, yo, put Beatminez Radio on Ustream. And we did that. And, you know, at the time, we had a crew. You know, we had a radio crew, and we was all doing radio, and everything was good. Then it's like we just kept going from there and growing from there and growing and growing. To now, we got Beatminez Radio. We got the Beatminez Radio app. We play, you know, we're a hip-hop based station, but we play good music. We play everything. You know what I'm saying? We play, we play those old rock records. And you're like, yo, that's the joint. I remember that record. Like, our library is crazy. We play, like, Madonna. We play Rob Bass, DJ Easy Rock. We play Ekby and Rakim. We play J. Cole. We play, you know, but we don't play, like, we're not playing, like, the Hot 97 or Power 105 hip-hop.
Right.
We're playing more hip-hop based hip-hop, you know. Like, we consider J. Cole a hip-hop artist.
Right, yeah.
You know, it's like there's cats out there that make the other hip hop music, and then you have like the J. Cole's and the rest of them.
Right.
You know, so it's what we do.
And is it all vinyl?
Nah, it's not all vinyl. I wish, but it's it's whatever format. But it's like we play whatever, and as long as it's dope, as long as it's good music, and it's been crazy. Like we have a nice listener fan base. Like believe it or not, we have a lot of listeners. We have a lot more listeners outside the United States than in the United States. You know what I'm saying?
Why is that? Why do you think that is? I mean, you go to. It's funny you talk to old hip hop heads. I mean, older than us, who are still doing it, and for different reasons, they obviously can't leave the United States for whatever. But you talk to them about their music, and they're selling huge overseas, like stuff like that. I mean, what is it about overseas that audience you think that kind of is attracted to the music you're doing?
Here's what it is, and this is what I tell everybody. All the records that's hitting over here on the radio, they don't understand it. Remember, a lot of them don't speak English.
Right.
So if they don't understand, if they can't comprehend what you're doing, they're not going to mess with it. Mm-hmm. Like I remember going to Japan when Thong Song was out. Thong Song, when it was out over here, it was crazy. Yeah. It was a big record. Yo, the DJ threw on Thong Song and the floor cleared. And I said, yo, what the hell? What just happened? He said, yo, they don't understand it. They don't know what a thong is. I said, oh.
Interesting.
But that's what it is. Like, a lot of the big artists, what do you call it? A lot of the rap artists that are big out here, they're not big overseas.
Right.
They're not, because like I said, a lot of the people overseas don't understand it. Now with us, like with a group like us or whatever, they get it. Oh, there's a DJ in the group. He actually DJs. Like he's not just standing there making faces and waving his hand in the air. The MC, he goes back and forth, and he has a melodic flow. Like that's what they understand, Like a Black Moon. Like it's funny. Like I told somebody, I said, here's the crazy thing. Look at Speech from Arrested Development. Out here, can't get arrested. No one cares.
Right.
Speech, oh, he's old. He's washed. Go to Japan. He's selling out stadiums.
Right.
Speech. You know what I'm saying? Why? Because, and also they also cherish the music more than we do out here. Out here, we see it as, yeah, this is dope. Okay, next.
Right.
Out there, if something's dope, they keep it. That's why a Black Moon can go on tour overseas and live. And I always tell, one of the first things I tell artists is get a passport.
Right.
Like I tell any artist that messes with me, I'm like, yo, go get your passport, because it's going to be serious. Like one thing I'm happy to say, I travel and my passport is stamped out. I'm on my 7th passport.
Shit, damn. Nice.
You know what I'm saying? I've been in this game professionally for 26 years. And I'm on my 7th passport with extended pages.
Wow.
So I'm having fun.
You read up on, you talk about, talk to anybody about you and about the Beatminez and even Black Moon. And, they say right away they help define that New York kind of gritty hip hop sound, right? Mm-hmm. We look at kind of the technological advances of, turntables, digital music in general. Do you think that new hip hop music is now is really overly produced and is kind of getting away from that gritty sound?
Yes, I will say that. One thing I'll say is this. The technology we had back in the days, like the limits we had, that's why the music sounded the way it sounded. Now, what has to happen is this, and I will say this, and I hope people don't take it out of context. What we have to do as older artists, we have to embrace technology. We have to embrace what's going on with Pro Tools. You gotta embrace Pro Tools. Gotta embrace the new MPCs. Gotta embrace Machine. Because here's what's going on. if you don't, we will lose this thing we have called hip hop. It's just like DJing. People, don't deal with Serato. Oh, don't mess with that. Don't use CDJs. Here's the situation. They don't make vinyl like they used to. So now you're a DJ and you're stuck in a genre because you don't have the records.
Right. So you're saying like they don't press the vinyl?
Nah,
yeah.
Not for a lot of stuff.
Right.
So, and if they do press the vinyl, it's mad dough.
Yeah, it's like, yeah.
So, and then me as a traveling DJ that DJs around the world, yo, it's so convenient. I don't have to carry my crates. You know how many records I've lost DJing? I've lost crates of records DJing. You know, but now everything's with me. And the 45 thing is dope. And like, even with myself, yeah, I rock the 45s. And you know, that's something I've done before. But at the end of the day, I embrace technology because I want to grow and I want to be one of those dudes that, like, even though I use technology, my stuff still sounds the same. It's not really, believe it or not, it's not a piece of equipment that you shouldn't rely on a piece of equipment. You should rely on your mind.
Right.
Because your mind is the creative process that makes what's going on. You know, that helps you create what's going on. And it's like, yo, like if everybody tells me, oh, you need to go back to that SB1200 sound. I would love to, but here's the thing. They don't fix the SB1200s like they used to. I have 2 left, and I'm not trying to kill those 2 and be out of an SB1200.
Right.
Like, you know, and I get it. People love that old sound. And with me, with this new album, yeah, we're giving you that old sound. You know what I'm saying? Like, we took it back a little bit, but we recorded on Pro Tools. You know? Because, you know, after a while, like, after doing something for a while, you get used to it.
Right.
You know?
You're not, like, taping your knobs and then leaving and make, no one touches this shit, I'll kill you.
Yeah, yo, that was back in the day. Like, I remember days of D&D, like, we'd spend 10 hours mixing a record and be like, all right, you know what, we'll come back in the morning, tape the board up, put a sign, don't touch these damn knobs. Like, and then doing a recall back then when somebody did touch the knobs. We never got it back the same way, ever.
Speaker, I want to turn to Black Moon. This is my understanding. The original 3, where you're MC5,
5FT.
5FT, Fista,
5FT.
Finsta,
5FT,
and
Buckshot, and myself.
So Buckshot was a part of the original group?
Yes.
Okay.
When we started Black Moon, yes.
But my understanding is also is it true that he was actually more of a dancer prior to rhyming?
Yeah.
Or
Him and Five and Finsta used to dance.
So what was... So the Buckshot we hear, well, even on the first album, but today, how different was it when you guys all first got together in terms of his rhyme skills pattern?
He's gotten better. Like when I first met him, he rhymed one way. Then he kind of changed, and like you heard the first change, Who Got the Props is the second wave. Then How Many MCs is the third wave. When he was when he met Steel, when him and Steel sat down, his whole style started changing. He was influenced by Steel. Like Steel is like the dude, Steel from Smith & Wesson, if y'all don't know what I'm talking about, is like that dude is like the brainchild. Like that dude is the smart dude, you know? And the whole thing is he influenced Buckshot when we was doing Enter the Stage. And, but yeah, like Buck, when he first came through, he was just on some da-da-da-da-da, da-da-da-da-da-da, da-da-da-da-da, and then he just grew up. You know, remember, we all was young at the time, too. You know, Five still rhymes the same way he rhymed before. You know what I'm saying? Like, Five is just rugged and raw. Finsta, when he was with us, he rhymed one way. Then when he left the group, him and Bundy got together and made Finsta Bundy. And they was like I call them the B-side dudes because their records sound like our B-side records. But they're dope. It's not a bad thing. It's dope. Like they're dope. They created a whole niche for themselves. They're not under that Black Moon umbrella. You You know, they have their own sound, they have their own way. You know what I'm saying? And it's dope.
I've seen you guys a few times, but then I remember I saw Buckshot at totally slipping on whatever. I totally slipping. On Governor's Island.
Rock the Bells?
Rock the Bells, yeah.
Yeah.
And I remember my favorite thing about it is that about watching him perform is that he's not that guy like kind of running back and forth, jumping up and down. It's kind of like that guy, just like kind of like a Rakim type thing, where he's just like, you know, I remember him standing on one of the speakers and just like spitting, and it seems effortlessly. Is that what's the process for you guys? I mean, from the first album in terms of creating a beat, writing stuff like, how does that work? And is it like I mean, you guys just sound effortlessly when you do it. Is it just one of those things you just put it on and he just starts spitting, or he starts spitting, you just, you know, make a beat around him?
It depends. Like this, I could talk about this album because being at this is now. What happens is I'll play some beats for him, and him and Five will listen to it, and they'll be like, "Yo, this is dope," and they'll sit down in their corners and write. Sometimes Buck will pre-write something and start like a pre-written, and then just continue writing it to the beat. Then it's like, you know, while they're doing that, I'm sitting down with headphones on, creating more beats while they're writing. And then by the time they finish writing that, I'll play them whatever I created, and they'll go, "Yo, that's dope. Nah, I don't like that. That's dope. I don't like that." And that's how we did this whole album. This whole album was a effort of me just making beats. Like we did shit in the same room. Instead of doing it where I'm in the corner, I'm over at my house, he's over at his house, and Five's at his house. Nah, we all got together because that's where we come from. You know, all our stuff was created in the same room. We only had one album where it was kind of created where I was at home, they was at, you know, and the album is dope, but it's not my favorite Black Moon album. And that's the Total Eclipse album. But, you know, we created everything together. And I would just make beats. Sometimes Buck would come in and go, "Y'all got an idea for a record." And then I'll create from that idea, you know. But it's mostly he writes to the beats that I give him.
I imagine, you know, as a DJ, you know your artists really well. So there's, and you know that your artist's voice is an instrument, you know. Is there an instrument that, or sound that kind of just won't work if you put it on a kind of a Black Moon record?
A ukulele. I think a harmonica wouldn't work neither. I don't know, but if Stevie Wonder, you know, it might work if Stevie Wonder's playing it.
Yeah, he'll make it work.
But ukulele, I can't see, or banjo.
No,
I can't see him rock to a banjo.
I got two more questions for you.
No problem.
I appreciate your time. The first question is, what's the favorite part of what you do for you? Like, why do you love what you do?
You know what's my favorite part, believe it or not? Creating. I like the creating part because I could sit back and just be like, "Yo, let me experiment with this. Let me experiment with that." Like, one thing with me, like, I like this album. I'm experimenting with frequencies, highs, mids, lows, subs, and what I'm doing is every Black Moon record that's on this album has different frequencies. So when you listen in different systems, you're gonna hear different things. Like, and then the subs, you don't hear them at all. You just feel them. So if you're at a club and they throw in a new Black Moon record, you're gonna feel this bass like, "Whoa, where'd that come from?" You know. But it's like that's my whole thing. Like a lot of people nowadays, they don't concentrate on frequencies; they just concentrate on loud.
Right.
We gotta make this album loud, son. And it's like, you know, my whole thing is creating an album. We buy $400 headphones to listen to music that sounds like trash. Like, I want to make something, when you put it in your car, you're like, "Whoa, it sounds like a movie."
Right, you hear that. Yeah.
You know? And like, that's my whole thing. I like that creative process. You know, I've always wanted to make records like that. And I've done some records like that, but now this is my first time doing a whole album like that. You know, so creative part is my favorite.
That's dope. So my last question. So I've probably memorized The Adventures of Slick Rick by heart. I could put it on the tape. I'll rap to the whole entire thing. As a 11-year-old doing Treat Like a Prostitute, probably a bad thing, and I think my mom did not hear that. I think I could spit the entire Self-Destruction song, and my kind of go-to album, and it doesn't help that streaming services are available, is DMX's It's Dark as Hell is Hot.
Yeah.
Especially when you're walking through Penn Station, it gets you in the zone. So for you, Wish is like the album that if someone puts it on, you could probably spit the entire album. The song that you don't need anyone to put any on, you could spit that song, and then the album that's kind of like your go-to, get the hell away from the album.
Okay. The Get the Hell Away From Me album is Public Enemy, Fear of a Black Planet.
Nice.
Album that I know from front to back is Off the Wall, Michael Jackson.
Oh, that's dope. Okay, that's dope.
And what was the other one?
That one song that you could kind of, you don't need anybody to play it. You could just kind of sing it or spit it.
Papa Don't Take No Mess.
Nice.
James Brown.
That's dope. Wow. Black Moon album coming out soon.
Hopefully June. Hopefully June. I'll say June, July.
June, July. Nice.
Yeah.
Evil Dee, The Beatminez, Black Moon, Legend, Bushwick resident. Thanks so much for joining me in the library with Tim EInenkel. It's been an honor. Thank you.
Thank you, man. Thanks for having me, man. Cool. I'm finally glad to be here.
Yes, thank you. I'm glad it worked out. Thank you so much for doing this again, man.
No doubt. It's all cool.
Cool.